Marketers are generally born marketers. It's a profession that sticks with you as you grow up. MBA was a golden ticket then, but I don't think so it is today. It's better to have a portfolio than a resume in today's world. Without portfolio, a resume is pretty useless. The role of marketing is to convert the first-time customer acquired through paid media into free customer for repeat. The product is bad. The entire house will fall like a stack of cards. Earlier, there was a time lag between the brief and the output. Today with Gen AI, your brief to output period could be in seconds.
Been pretty vocal about how that role of a CMO is getting devalued day by day.
It will not exist, to be honest.
Hey there, welcome to Marketing Mavericks with IndieFolio. Today we have Hitesh Malhotra with us, who's currently the Director of Marketing at 6th Street. Hitesh has had a fantastic career. He's been the CMO of Lenskart, Nykaa, and he's been an engineer turned marketeer. We talk a lot about his journey. We unpack a ton of insights for marketeers, agency owners, and even brands. We discuss brand versus performance, deep dive into how to create performance campaigns which actually work in today's world, and a lot more. Thanks a lot for your time, Hitesh, and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for inviting me, Kavan.
Thank you so much for giving me your time on a Sunday. I've interviewed a lot of marketing heads and CMOs in this podcast, and one recurring pattern always is people who are engineers who end up becoming really good CMOs. So what was that story, right? How did you really evolve yourself from an engineer to a marketer? And do you feel there's a reason engineers make great marketers?
The only thing that engineering teaches you is to put a bit of hard work and some discipline. I don't think so. Otherwise, there is a very big factor that has made me into a marketer that's come from engineering, because I used to be a marketer even before engineering days, right? So one is needless to say that I was the prime participant in any fest and to get the sponsors. But even prior to that, the only e-commerce that existed in India was like eBay. So back then also, I kind of started putting goods out there to have some kind of P2P purchases and make something look attractive. For example, cell phones, right? So those were the days of Nokia. I was very intrigued on the platform because we used to buy cell phones, which were used phones, and then sell used phones. The arbitrage is how do you make money between that? Like you buy a Nokia phone from somebody at a cheaper price and then re-upload it and sell it at a higher price. And that was all marketing beginning then itself. Marketers are generally born marketers. I feel it's a profession that sticks with you as you grow up. Your ability to sell, your ability to enchant customers, and your ability to sell value to customers so that they can pay you +1 over what they're paying to your competitors. I think it's very inbred.
I have a follow-up here because you often feel that you're born into like a marketing skill set. But I also see that you've done an MBA from UC Berkeley.
Yeah.
Today, people are pretty confused, right? Like I see a lot of engineers who maybe want to shift to marketing similar to you. Do you suggest those folks should maybe do a formal MBA? Does that really help?
Every age has a golden ticket, right? So when I did my MBA, I'm talking about early 2000s or pre-2010, right? And those days, a golden ticket was a pedigree candidate because they would get a little advantage getting ahead of the line, because the skill set was more about learning the basics of marketing, which you learn at a good P school, and not so much dependent on new age technologies in those days, which was digital, and today that is AI. So I think today's golden ticket may not be MBA. It could be your evolution with your AI agent or whichever you pick up, and how you're training it and how you're able to churn out super generative AI creative yourself. I think that is more valuable than an MBA today. So you do see a lot of big B school pedigree students are not able to get placed because somewhere during their course they were not able to upgrade into this knowledge. This was MBA was a golden ticket then, but I don't think so it is today.
Interesting. So AI would be like golden ticket. People are afraid to not do like a formal background because they feel if they want to become a CMO, CEO one day, that pedigree is very much important. So do you feel that that's the case?
It's a mixed bag. Depends what kind of organization you're targeting. If it's a young startup, pre-series C or pre-series B, they would look at skills at a better uptake rather than your pedigree. But if you're heading towards a large blue chip organization or an FMCG, it's not easy to change the way they've been operating for the last 50, 60, 70 years. So they would still look at pedigree, where you graduated from. As I said, that a good engineering school or a good MBA school displays your ability to get in line and put hard work, right? That's how they judge it. They know that, okay, when you've gone to a good school, you had the discipline of collaborate with teams, do formations in teams, show some kind of leadership in projects, then come back home and then again work hard on a project to ensure that it's out there, right? So it all depends which bucket you're kind of trying to fit into.
I would say young marketeers or students who are aspiring to become marketeers.
Yeah.
And what happens is they are a little bit confused around what their first stint should be. There's a lot of advice going around saying work with a startup, start with an enterprise, work in sales, sweat and sell something, go to the consulting side. I think you've done a bunch of all of it,
Yeah.
right, already. So I wanted to kind of know from you, if I'm a young marketer, what's your advice to them? What should be my first stint?
I keep telling this to a lot of young people in my family as well, that today you have to be like war ready personality. A doomsday is not too far away. When I say doomsday, I'm not talking about Nostradamus end of world. When I say doomsday, is like a dog eat dog world where probably the number of right applicants per posting could exceed like several hundred thousands, right? Let's say if I were a young marketer like 21 or 23 years old, I would not waste around too much time listening to things that people say who are like really old. I would look at all the new formats that had come out, maybe the GPT or the DeepSeek, and within that, what is the messaging that I can create? Say at the end of the day, the marketers have to sell, right? So selling will start eventually by selling yourself. So
Right.
in early days, no one would ask an applicant that, do you have an Instagram page? And have you tried doing any shipment model or a drop shipment model, tried selling anything? Have you tried reaching out to people on their own to convince them to invest or buy anything? I think going forward, that could be a subconscious assessment in people's mind where they would say that, okay, this guy is good with skills. What you've done when you did not have a job will probably decide what kind of job you'll end up getting. If an aspiring marketer says that, look, I understand e-commerce and I started drop shipment, and there's a revenue I made, I did not make money, but at least I understand how it works. That's much more valuable. And same happens with, let's say, a person who's very data oriented, right? So a marketer in the future interviews talking about writing a code on Python on R to extract data and get a finer insight will not be something which is abnormal, right? So in the past there was a very clear demarcation between marketers and the data insights team, but I think this will start getting merged together. It's better to have a portfolio than a resume in today's world, right? So you need to remember that. Without portfolio, a resume is pretty useless.
That's a great way to put it. Another confusion a lot of, let's say, mid-level marketeers have right now is creating a focus for their career. I often hear brand managers and folks kind of talk around this saying, hey, should I build a specialization in a category or an industry? Or should I be somebody who's flirting with many categories over my career? So I know there is no right or wrong answer, but what was your outlook towards experimenting with more categories?
If you are working in a job that becomes too easy, you should be switching categories. Any particular job that I'm doing is not taking away my mental bandwidth for like more than 3 or 4 hours in a day. While my remaining time, I'm kind of wasting doing non-linear work. I realize that maybe I can expand my brain more and I can learn more stuff. That is one aspect. And the other is, I think I was lucky as well, where people from different industries took a bet on me despite me coming from industry A. So the guy sitting on top in industry B wanted to take a bet again, because maybe they got access to some portfolio that I keep building on the side, be it on my Instagram or be it on my LinkedIn, where I try to showcase what I'm doing. They would have come across the story or they would have come across the post somewhere and they would have said that, okay, I've tried with traditional candidates. Let me try to take a bet with a different persona or different industry candidate and see how it goes. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But generally, if you're above average IQ, you would ace out your industry in like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, basically, right? After that, you can choose to go in a protective cocoon and pretend that you're doing great work and keep doing it for like 15 years to get a salary. So you might fail 7 or 8 times before you can hit some quantifiable success, which is 2 out of 10. But the 2 out of 10 gives you the high and the strength to deal with those 8 out of 10 failures. But there are a lot of other risk averse people I've seen who said, no, abhi ye job kar liya to I know the company will not fire me because I've been here for like 6 years, 7 years doing the same stuff. And then unka kya hota hai ki then their life is more about outside work, right? What they're not doing at office is what their life is more about. For people like me, we can't isolate our daily office work from our daily lives. Like I cannot be happy in a pub if I'm not happy at work in the morning. So it's very difficult for me to isolate these two things. I'm very happy, and I feel that people who are able to do that, they are extremely lucky and fortunate. And there are some people who just cannot do that, right?
So many profound things here, actually. I'd love to follow up on all, but the other side of it is, I think risk appetite, as you said, is a big part of it. But I'll take your example, like you were CMO of Lenskart and then you switched countries.
Yeah,
You also switched category to crypto.
yeah,
Totally different ICPs. You entered in this extremely new place,
yeah,
and did so many things which are new. People feel marketing obviously is about understanding the consumer, and I've spent 20 years, 30 years in India. I know it so well. I know my category so well. I'm now jumping into completely new terrain, which scares people, right? They're like, oh
yeah.
God, I have to start from zero. How did you end up kind of becoming an expert in a category and a new geography?
I kind of knew mentally that this step that I'm taking is going to lead me to multiple failures because I don't know the audience yet and will take some time to understand. And again, does the employer have the attitude or the patience for me to understand the audience when they do have ready-made candidates from the region who have been working here for eons and they know the audience at the back of their hands? One thing which I tried to do was I tried to amalgamate myself better with the local diaspora, right? So let's say if my target audience is Arab customers or Arab expats, or let's say Western expats who moved into the country. So I try to do more focus group studies, understanding their likes and dislikes. I try to look at more research papers, more social media research documents to understand how they're purchasing. I try to spend more time at their points of purchases. Having said that, I made some good friends and got into deeper interviews with them to again build the right consumer persona. This and then the everything else is intuition, right? So basically when you try to extract information or research, you will get 30% or 40% of what you want to know. Rest 60% is the intuition as a marketer. But I must say that in my life would have found more failures in Dubai than success because I try to put that effort understanding customers, and I'm still doing that today as I speak. So let's say tomorrow I partner with a brand that is catering exclusively to people, let's say under 35. Due to my exposure and understanding of crypto customers, I do have a very good identification of how to sell them faster than how a typical FMCG would sell them, right? So FMCG would typically get an influencer, try to do a yuppie campaign or a funny campaign. My approach would be very, very different. I would probably create some kind of value group on a Discord or a Telegram and just give initially, right? Be it information. Giving doesn't mean discount codes because that is very millennial. And then see how that community is shaping up towards the product versus just signing one off influencer, which is not sustainable
So
also.
you mentioned a very interesting point about intuition. I can draw a similar parallel here when I see conversations happening between founders, management about performance versus brand building.
Yeah.
Where a lot of times marketers say, "Hey, I have an intuition that this is going to help me build my brand," because attributing brand building immediately is very hard to do. So I want to just kind of understand from you. You've led a lot of brands which were performance heavy, which have also built a good brand today.
Yeah.
What's your outlook towards Frugality today? How do you build a brand? How do you prove building a brand versus the performance mandates, which give you a lot of objective outcomes?
Performance marketing was super effective till let's say late 2019. Then came the COVID transition. There was a pent up demand happening, right? So there was a big movement that happened, at least for countries like India or Africa, from Android to iOS. While this was happening, iOS decided to create very strong barricades on the kind of post pack that they want to give to advertisers. So post pack is that the consumer information getting back to Google or Facebook so that you can target better or optimize campaigns better. They decided that they're gonna stop the post packs and aggregate it into their own code, which is known as SKA and scan, where they will say that okay, out of 100 people that you've reached out today on Facebook ad, probably 20% of them are interested in shoes and 15% of them are interested in travel, but we will not tell you exactly how many. So the signals from being very accurate became very aggregated. This phenomena, most of the marketers were not taking seriously, thinking that yaar India ko kya hoga? India is an Android market, so it doesn't affect. But what happened was when the user experience became so charming with less intrusion, top Android companies followed suit in India. So India, despite being 89% Android, the top end customers started seeing the same phenomena. You have to understand that in e-commerce in India is run by 140 million people, not 1.5 billion people or 1.4. So those 140 million people have access to top end Android as well, like the ones who are shopping with top e-commerce companies. So at that stage, the data blindness started coming into picture. So there were two ways of solving it, right? Which some people did and most of the people could not. One is that you align yourself with Apple's scan data, which is a probabilistic data. Then there are other probabilistic data tools that would come in, like for example, your measurement partner. Like for example, if you're working with AppsFlyer or let's say Branch, they also have a probabilistic data tool. You put a data scientist in marketing to merge the data and see that how accurate the probabilistic tool is and how can they drive the budget decision based on that. That was one way of doing it. The other way of doing was you create a MMM, which is basically multimedia modeling mix, where you just see that what levers get you the best organic traffic. So let's say campaign ABCD, do not look at campaign ABCD's outcome, right? So everybody who's look at ROAS and campaign ABCD, do not look at campaign ABCD ROAS. See that is campaign ABCD getting you more organic customers eventually, and then look at overall return on investment spends. So let's say campaign A ROAS is 2, campaign B is 3, campaign C is 4. In the olden days, you would obviously push more money into campaign C because ROAS is more. But now this data is probabilistic, right? So you don't know what is the real data. Campaign A could be giving the largest increment in terms of organic traffic, organic customers. While campaign C might be stealing people who are coming organically, right? It happens a lot. Where a lot of today machine-led campaigns are stealing away organic customers, right? So in the end, the most perfect mix for your business is that up to 75% of the customers come to you organically and 25% come through performance marketing. That gives you enough monies to maintain a marketing spend and keep your job safe, right? This balance started getting shaken very badly, right? So this is the second measurement, which is MMM. In both the techniques, there's one thing that you need to constantly work on is the organic brand building. So imagine, let's say a typical FMCG guy, a brand manager, would have enabled himself or made himself capable to understand performance marketing from the period of 2010 to 2015, 16. 16, he would have started delivering. 16 to 19, he would have delivered. And now after 2020, you're telling him again to unlearn it and look at new aspects. I think that is a challenge, and that's where most of the brands are struggling.
Fantastic. I think super insightful, right? I think I myself learned quite a lot just over the last few minutes because traditionally you would think that. So would you assume that the biggest metric right now is essentially like organic growth, like that essentially is a lever for better ROI?
Organic growth and overall ROI. So how much input and how much output? Did you spend? You spend $250 to get 1,000. So that is the main. It does not matter if you spend 250 to get 200 on performance. So keep that aside because anyways the attribution is pretty bossed up. Unless you have the data scientists working on the probabilistic attribution and telling you that what is the confidence they have in the probabilistic attribution. In the end, data scientists will just give you one answer that I am 97% confident on the probabilistic attribution, so you can bifurcate budgets accordingly.
Right.
Or they would say that I'm not confident and go by overall input and output and see where you're getting organic incrementality. This, I think, is the singular most important thing. Also, the repeat purchase, right? One is OPAS, which is order per unit, and the other is repeat, which is basically denoted by a waterfall that what does, if somebody made a purchase in January, through the year, December, how many times they come back and made purchases. So I think these two things are like really important. A lot of people have been investing monies to understand the power of the brand. I'm also kind of training my agent to give me parameters from social listening and put it as a brand score and see how much does it translate to repeat purchase. So the classic measurement of a brand strength is your ability to attract new customers and ability to get repeat purchases. If you're expanding new customers, if you're established repeat purchases, right? How do you link that to your social content? And how do you link that to influencer activities where the AI comes? Where you're gonna mesh both the data points together and run multiple assessments and multiple simulation to see that what is the correlation between your investments in good content, video production, or influencer translating to the output that you desire in terms of, as I told you, acquiring new customers or getting repeat customer orders.
Would you say the repeat which you get has to be organic, or are you talking about repeat paid campaign?
Repeat in an ideal world should be organic. That's the power of brand.
Correct.
Your money should only be spent for the first time customer. The role of marketing is to convert the first time customer acquired through paid media into free customer for repeat.
Right. Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Either through strong loyalty hook or through content or influencer hook, or
Right.
just the power of brand hook, where the person finds enough belief in the brand and wants to get back again. And not to forget, in the end, it translates to product, right? So the product is bad, all
Right.
the entire house will fall like a stack of cards. Product has to complement the efforts that are going into marketing.
There's so much sentiment, especially in India, about now frugality, right? I
Hmm.
think we're back to the core basics key. We need profitable ventures, profitable campaigns, etc.
You don't cut marketing and become frugal. That's a misconception. Marketing is very essential in a very competitive market like India. So frugality should be more around other wasted expenses, and they may or may not be related to marketing. Frugality could be around maybe just a namesake TV campaign or a namesake digital campaign, which actually is not being measured. But the things that I'm talking about right now is an investment.
Right.
The multimedia model or the data scientist
Correct.
working obviously will be charging you a particular compensation, or and the ability to do different experiments and failing at them costs money. And that
Right.
is what is needed in today's date. You cannot shun off marketing. You shut off marketing, a brand eventually will die unless it's a legacy brand or unless it does not have any competitor in the market or any
Right.
substitute. If you're a brand
Absolutely.
without substitute, then it's fine. It's okay. At least in India, experiential marketing, if done right, may not be that
Mm.
expensive. So
Mm.
experiential marketing for me is like your real time interaction with your best customers. What are they saying? What do they feel about you? And how are they going to create content from that experiential event, which goes across their network? A lot of people undermine this power, but I think it's very strong, right? Like, for example, in UAE, there is an app called the Secret Society, right? Wherein you can register, and if the promoters think that your social media is powerful, then they allow you to experience a lot of things for free, only to make content over there. So there will
Right.
be a guy who's got a new yacht and he wants to promote his party service in the yacht. So he will call people from the secret society and tell them to make great content. The
Mm.
only thing is that you have to tag the person so that they can co-post with you,
Mm.
right? And the same content, they can use it as an advertisement as well, and they can boost it, which I think is a brilliant idea. Something like that kind of works brilliantly in India also. But it's still expensive. Experiential India is not that expensive. You
Right.
can still book a nice Blue Tokai coffee shop and put all your props there, get a coffee atelier to talk about coffee, and let people experience it all under, like, I would say 2 lakhs.
Right.
But you
Right.
might generate 100 pieces of content from there, 100 usable pieces of content.
Right.
So which your patrons can co-post with you. So if you divide 2 lakhs by 100, the price per reel is nothing. You would any day take a 2000 rupees reel which talks about your brand and boost it. Not to forget, you have IP control on that reel. So you own the IP, right? So you can use it for ads for time immemorial.
List of frugal ideas which I did not expect. Thank you so much, Hitesh. I think anybody listening to this, even as a founder or a young marketer, would really, really benefit from that. You mentioned Gen AI and a content stack, right? IndieFolio is a network of creative people. While it's exciting, of course, it's also pretty scary, right? Like I'm imagining, will you look at a future where the marketer who has the budget and the brief, right? They can just prompt out the brief and get the output since the execution and craft of creative is all becoming generated now.
No, creative people will just learn to work with the tools better. So they would probably write better prompts, or they would do a combination of both, right? So they would do prompt engineering and they will do Photoshop on top of it,
Ah,
right? So you have to understand that even the
they'll
photo,
own the workflow.
yeah, the photo editing tools also have AI agent attached to it, right? So
Correct.
even your
Correct.
Adobe Photoshop is a Firefly now.
Correct.
Firefly will now become a proper channel bot, and it'll start taking instructions, right? So it'll happen together.
Correct.
So one or two people in the team could own the entire end-to-end creative cycle from
Got it.
inception to delivery, instead of the earlier place where there would be a copywriter, then there would be a visual designer, there would be a creative lead or a creative
Mhm.
director, and then there would be graphic designers. So all that will shrink
Right.
by 75%.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So that T is becoming like a V where it's all
Yeah.
converging into one person instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
having skills like that.
Yeah. I mean, the future CMOs will not have a team larger than 6 or 7 people if they had
Ah,
teams of like 30 people in the past.
okay.
Right? Like,
Understood.
let's say even for performance marketing, they would probably had junior executives, then senior performance marketing manager, or maybe ad ops manager. That will also change, right? Where they would know how to get the basic operations run through the bot. The strategy would usually come from them directly. So even
Right.
that function will become like very lean.
Got it. Got it. Another question on this topic is the state of outsourcing, right? From network agencies to consulting companies, you're seeing their stocks, looking at a lot of people leaving the companies at the same time because now they feel that, hey, I can work with multiple people with my AI agentic tools, become a consultant. There's a shift happening everywhere. Or what do you say to an agency founder right now?
Same thing. Nah? I mean, digital advertising was built for self-serve. You have to understand that. The way Google ad platforms or TikTok or Meta was Facebook was created was to self initialize and manage it on your own. But people they anticipated people to be not that lazy. So then there were agencies who deployed people and who would do it for them.
Correct.
Same will be the case here as well. There will be leaders who will not be getting themselves into it and they will operate it through agency. Where agency will keep an army of specialists and they will cater to multiple clients together. And which is a very big but is that the best companies will insource it. The worst company will outsource it. Because earlier there was a time lag between the brief and the output. Okay, so today with Gen AI, that is out of the ballpark, right? It's not required anymore. Your brief to output period could be in seconds. The only thing that the middle person is doing is prompt engineering.
Thank you so much, Hitesh. I feel it's been fantastic having you. This podcast was created with the mindset that it will help young marketers understand how to do career laddering, how to kind of grow into the role of a CMO. And you've been pretty vocal about how that role of a CMO is getting devalued day by day.
It'll not exist. It'll not exist, to be honest. It'll be like a growth leader slash project specialist. The title CMO, I think, will go away, I think, in a couple of years' time.
If I'm a young marketer, right, what should be my vision to one day kind of grow into? What will brace me for this future?
Your ability to do stuff on your own. Leadership skill will be overrated because with lean teams, everybody has to be a team contributor. So what do you contribute as a top marketer? Are you the best editor? Are you the best copywriter? Are you the best visualizer? Are you the best performance marketer? If you specialize in something, that's a starting point, which was not the case in the last 10 years, where a generalist would become a good marketer as long as he has got the ability for people to listen to him.
That's some golden advice. And I think a great point to end the podcast on. I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time. I just pray that our listeners find some value in it.
Absolutely. I'm sure they'll all find a lot of value in it, Hitesh. Thank you so much. And for everybody who's tuned along, thank you so much for watching the podcast. If you'd like another marketing leader soon, please like, share, and subscribe. We'll have a new episode coming out. Bye-bye.